Yeah, our break is over.
Yeah, our too long break. Lots of changes. Went on a cruise, came back, had a birthday week, and got engaged.
How's the birthday week? No, I'm kidding.
That was actually very nice too. So
Just
chill.
a solid engagement undersell. Oh, sweet, man. How was that cruise?
The cruise was also good too, except the first day was a nightmare since the cruise showed up late.
Dang.
Yeah, it was a funny thing. Like, the first time I've ever been on a cruise, my fiance, which I can say now fiance, she's been on cruises before, and so is like a lot of people new. And like cruise lines have like everything set up to a teeth, where everything's like you come at your own set time. Like they give, I mean, not your own set, they set you time to show up, so you don't crowd up and you're waiting or anything like that. And then that way they can get everyone shuttled onto the boat. Well, something happened to the previous cruise because there was a medical emergency and they had to stop. So they showed up to port late, and it's like, oh, this is your new time, which was 7:30 to 10 p.m. So 7:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. I was like, oh, okay, so we got pushed back. And I'm like, that's not a bad time. What we didn't realize was that was everyone's time to show up to the thing. So they made everyone get on the boat the exact same time. And this boat can have, I think, like 3,000 people or something like that, maybe more. And
a bit of a waiting line, huh?
Yeah, we got there at 7:40 because of traffic, because everyone was trying to get in there. But even though what I don't understand how this happened is that we got there at 7:40, there was a shit ton of people behind us, yet somehow because like they have also this terminal area before you get on buses, and they just have that so you just don't randomly just walk onto the boat. They want to safely bring people to the boat and all that stuff. So you wait in a terminal area. And so we somehow ended up, though, being the last bus on the damn boat. And we didn't get into our room until midnight.
Dang, yo.
Yeah. But the rest of the cruise was fantastic. Like when people say that when you go on vacation, you don't really relax, that's true. But on a cruise is you actually get a chance to relax when you're on vacation on a cruise because everything is catered for you. All the food's free. There's some of the drinks, like soda, you have to pay for soda, but like coffee, lemonade, and all that stuff. That's all stuff is free.
I mean,
and drinks are
free is the wrong word. You can say it's included because you're paying for the cruise.
Exactly, you're paying for the cruise, but you don't put any other money down on that or anything like that. Everything's taken beforehand. There's no tipping. The tips are taken care of beforehand, and you can. And what's great about cruises is that you can do in like monthly payments. Like we planned this cruise a year ago, and we just paid off in monthly payments, and it was like only I think $55 or $80 a month for us, or something like that, to pay for the whole cruise. Maybe a little bit more, but that was it. Right. It was fucking awesome, and you just don't worry about nothing. There's a whole bunch of good entertainment, and it was fantastic. But yeah, so the cruise was good, but that's not game related, and this is We Can't Code. And we talk about video games and some other media stuff. Mm-hmm. And I did get to play some
Episode
games.
36.
Oh, this is now. Nice. And I did get to see a lot of movies, and I bought a shit ton of movies, too.
This is a game podcast. Let's talk about movies. No, go.
No. But, so how do you want to talk? How do you want to start off with? Do you want to start with movies, or do you want to start with games? And bounce off?
Games first, if possible.
Games first. Okay,
Did you play any games? I played only 2.
2? What were the 2 you played?
I played Luigi's Mansion 3, and I also played Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, you played Kingdom Hearts 3. How was that?
Dude, I got it for $13 on sale. It's the cheapest I've ever seen it. So I was like, how can I possibly pass that up? So Kingdom Hearts 3, we'll get to that in a moment because I just played it for the first time yesterday. What we'll start with is Luigi's Mansion 3, though.
Which I'm also interested in, too.
This game I bought about a week ago, and I guess I'm not enjoying the game as much as I thought I would. It's like, it just feels boring.
We didn't like the other one as much either. Or at least I didn't enjoy playing that with you, like the original one.
Oh.
Because it was just a lot of annoying enemies in the, because all we remember is this one specific enemy that sits in the rafters and just comes down, goes wah, 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 and you can never hit him, and he just goes away, and he comes back and hits you, goes wah, 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 and he just
that guy was a piece of shit
up the wall, and that's all I remember of that game. It just being frustrating. But
you can't do anything to avoid him. You just have to go through, and then he sits on the ceiling, and you can't hit him or anything. You have to walk past him, and whenever you do, he jumps down and goes womp 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 womp, and then like that.
I lose my fucking mind against that boss. Not even a boss. It's just a random enemy.
I'm glad we both got a chance to do our impressions of him.
Yeah, he haunts my dreams. He really does. But the game was cute, but it was very repetitive pretty quickly. At least that was my mind of the original Luigi Mansion.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how this one is. So we'll start with the pros first. The game is really cool in that, like, all the maps are extremely interactive. So papers and books and, like, you know, like rats and, what would you call them, like vermin kind of running around. And, like, you can suck up everything in your vacuum. And the whole room, you know, pillows and crap on the table and sheets and curtains and all. Like, it's cool to just clean up a room for, like, the first 2 times you do it.
Now, do you mean clean up or destroy the entire room?
You just suck everything. It just sucks.
So you just steal everything. You're just basically ransacking a room and taking all the shit in it.
Well, it's a ghost story. Like, no one really owns it. If anything, dead ghosts own it, so I don't know. But
yeah, so if you see an abandoned house, it's okay to steal the shit inside.
You know what's funny is that everything's made out of paper of money in that game. Like, anything that you suck up just spits out money, as if they were just like, instead of conventional building materials, they were just using like coins and, you know, dollar bills.
My mind went to just a very dark place. I don't know. I should say it out loud.
Okay, well, maybe
I'm gonna let this one pass.
All right, but no, like, it's so there's an incentive to just like suck up everything because it gives you money.
Right, because you're looting the place, you know.
But at the same time, you also want to suck everything up because there's a lot of shit like hidden behind paintings and curtains, and like if clothes are hung up or thrown somewhere, like you can suck it, and then it's like, oh, there's a secret passage behind the wall. So like there's a lot of reasons to just clean up a room as much as possible. But what's frustrating to me is that like there's so much to clean up that it's like 5 minutes every single room you're in is spent towards just vacuuming, and that gets really frustrating too.
I'm running, the funny thing you bring up too, I was actually gonna bring up the same issue with the game one of the games I play. Like I played more of the Outer Worlds. That was one of the games I came, and I was getting that exact same feeling when I was playing that game. I'm just like, there's just a lot of looting, and I just like, why am I doing this? Why am I just grabbing everything I can? And it just like, sure, it's like, oh, it's so I don't have to worry, you know, build up money and like items and stuff. But it's like, fuck, every room I go into, it's like you're not really exploring a room or looking at it. You're just taking everything. You're just like, oh, what's glowing? What's not? Like, what's like, where's all the stuff? It's just like, I don't know if I'm a real fan of that type of thing.
Like, the concept of looting is cool to me, but I wish that there was a way that they could make it a lot faster. Like, in I think of Diablo 2 to Diablo 3, and Diablo 2, you had to manually pick up every single money drop, and also
I'm playing that too. Yeah, that's like, I think I talked about it maybe in the last podcast, or I think I just told you, but yeah, it made me really miss the goblins or the creatures that you can have, the pets that you have, pick up gold in Diablo 3, and then I was like, in Diablo 2, you don't get anything like that. It's a fucking nightmare. And actually, in Diablo 3, if it was a shit ton of gold, if you just clicked, like, it would actually grab all the gold around that one gold you clicked on, too, for you as well. Which I thought was like, well, that's nice.
Yeah, and it does that for several things in Diablo. If you click material, like building materials or crafting materials, it'll just collect all the ones around you. So, like, that was a really cool way of just, like, automatically grabbing all the shit that's around you. Like, why doesn't that happen in the Outer Worlds where you click on a cabinet, and if there's any money or if there's any bullets in there, you just naturally take it, as long as it's not stealing. Like,
yeah, because it doesn't. There's no weight to it.
Yeah, there's no negative reason to have more bullets or have more money. It doesn't weigh you down. It doesn't do anything. So it's like, why not? But, yeah. I mean, that's just kind of how Luigi's Mansion feels like. Like, if you go through the effort of, hitting an enemy and killing it and, like, money flies out, why doesn't the money just naturally flow to you? Why do you have to, like, the dollars, they kind of, like, float in the air and drift around? It's like, motherfucker, it's like, I'm not gonna... I don't know, it's annoying.
It's a waste. Does the money disappear quickly too, or no?
It does.
Why?
I was actually surprised. So, like, whenever you pick up, there's gems that you have to collect, and there's keys you have to collect, and whenever you kill an enemy and clear a room, Luigi kind of does, like, a little dance, and there's no, like, grace period for when any of this shit's going on, so the stuff will just continually start to fade away as he's doing that.
Such a bad mechanic. That was in old games, and they should never continue that. It should always be there, because it's like, if you're facing multiple ghosts, you kill a ghost, but you have to kill the other ghost. You can't spend time collecting that money, and so it's like, it's just stupid. It's so stupid that make it eventually disappear.
Yeah. So I really can't decide if I like this game or not. I thought that it was gonna be just an easy A for me, or like, a B or something, but I was thinking about it, and I have to give this game like a 5 out of 10, because the story is basically non-existent, too. I mean...
what is the story for this one? Because I remember... I don't know if we played the first or second one together. I know, like, one of them is that Luigi gets a mansion, and then Mario is stuck in the mansion. Or is that...
That's the first one. Okay. That's the first one, and this game plays off the same style. So they put your friends in paintings, and you have to remove them from the paintings. But, so yeah, in this one you go to a hotel instead of a mansion, and you just go floor to floor, and you clean up. But yep. They try to incorporate as many things as possible, different mechanics and whatnot for each floor, but after a certain point, like, you go to the floor, you kill the boss on that floor, and then you get an elevator piece to go to the next spot, and then that's it. Like, the game hasn't introduced anything new to me in a couple hours, and, like, there's no... The first scene that you play in the game has a cutscene where it's like, oh, everyone arrives at the hotel, and there's a bit of a story and whatever, but after that, it's all just exposition in terms of... Or it's all just, like, tutorial on how to play the game. It's nothing that's, like... pushing the story further. Basically the story is in purgatory while you take hours to explore this mansion. Like, nothing is currently happening. I remember in Banjo-Kazooie, like, what they did to keep your interest is your sister was trapped by the evil Gruntilda witch, and then, like, every once in a while it would go back to them, and they're, like, warming up the machine, and it wasn't a lot, but it, like, kept the story moving. This game
gave it some urgency to it.
Yeah. And whenever you failed, then, like, it showed the cutscene of, like, oh, her plan worked, and, and your sister is this old creepy bitch now. But, so, like, this game just doesn't really try to do any of that, which is a shame. And, basically, when all you're doing is just cleaning room to room, grabbing dollars, which... By the way, you don't use the dollars for anything. The things that you can buy in the game are extra lives, or you can buy, like, GPS trackers to find the hidden items in each level, but there's no upgrades, there's no nothing you can buy, so it's, like, fucking pointless. Like, just
Didn't have upgrades in the other ones? Or no, was that crazy?
No, I don't think so. There may have been, like, there's a way that you could have gotten, like, fire into your vacuum and stuff before, but... You didn't have to physically buy anything. The reason for the money in the first game was at the end, depending on how much money you collected, it would show, instead of a mansion, it would show, like, what property you got instead. And if you collected no money, you got, like, a cardboard box. And if you collected a ton of money, you could basically rebuild the whole mansion for yourself.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah, and once again, even I'm not going to credit that as being a good idea either. Like, there has to be more incentive to basically be vacuuming up all this money. And the only incentive that there is maybe there's a hidden gem somewhere. So clean up the room because, there could be something hidden.
Yeah, that's so fucking tedious.
It is. It's really dumb. I was going to give this game a 5 out of 10. I really can't tell if I like it or not. It's such a drag at some points.
The multiplayer is pretty impressive, though, which I thought, because I saw some of the gameplay of the multiplayer, and, like, you don't have to be in the same room as the other players. Other players can move around the whole entire, it looked like the whole entire, hotel, which I thought was cool and stuff. I was like, okay, so you're not trapped in the same room and clear the room. But no, you can all go into separate rooms and do your own stuff and all that stuff, which I thought was a cool thing that they did that way.
Yeah.
Instead of locking the players together.
It would just be great if there was more abilities. If you're going to have, like, a team, I think of the classic, like, Dungeons and Dragons team, or the classic, like, Gauntlet team, where you got the warrior and the mage and the rogue and the whatever. Like, it'd be cool if all your characters didn't do the exact same thing, and that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's like playing a D&D game where every single character makes a barbarian sheet and all you do is just, attack. Like,
well, it sounds like this one suffers the same things the other ones did for me, is that it's very repetitive and there's not much expansion of the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty straightforward, given that this game is also from Nintendo, so it's also intended for kids too, but they could have just expanded it some way for more depth.
Yeah, I was trying to think about what I liked about the game, and because on paper it has everything that I would like. It's a single player story game. It's exploration. There's puzzles. Like, I look at that and I'm like, that sounds like a great game, but I'm just getting so bored.
Are the puzzles challenging or interesting?
Let's see. For the things that are hidden, there are some decent puzzles. I won't pretend that they're not interesting, but for the most part, they're pretty easy.
Well, yeah. Once again, it is like it's meant for kids too, and like I can understand that. But I have known, like, Nintendo, like with the Breath of the Wild, it had a lot of puzzles in Breath of the Wild, and those puzzles, each one was very unique and interesting in themselves. And actually quite challenging too, but since they weren't part of the main quest, I guess it was okay to make them really challenging as well. But so I gave it credits for that. But this one is
Well,
so
the puzzles, I think that the puzzles are fine. I guess I'm confusing puzzles for cleanup, because a lot of the puzzles are just, vacuum up enough shit until you have all the information that you need, and like
what do you mean by that? Does if you vacuum something up and it gives you like a tip, like, hey, look behind here, and then you vacuum that behind there, and it's like, and now look over there. Is that
no?
What it does?
Like, let's say you vacuum up a corner of a room and there's a ball, and then you vacuum up like the wall where there's a bunch of leaves growing on it, and there's a spot to put that ball. So, like,
gotcha.
It's that sense where it's like the puzzles are interesting, but they all just basically rely around the simple goal of clean the fucking room and then you'll figure it out. Like, it's
right, put this circle in the circle block hole.
Yeah.
That's it. Gotcha.
Which is all things considered, I don't want a game that's going to be having me sitting there thinking about how to solve a puzzle for 5 minutes. Like, I'd rather that they're easier than harder. God knows that Silent Hill 2 is still the bane of my existence.
Silent Hill was like a bullshit level, alright? It asks you to know Shakespeare and like the fucking Roman numbers of like what chapter that Shakespeare was. It was complete utter bullshit.
But it would be great if I think that Luigi's Mansion has a problem where each room has to basically be in isolation from everything else. Like, all the puzzles that you do are just, if there's a puzzle in that room, it doesn't project anywhere else outside of that room. Everything that you find...
fun.
Yeah, like, it'd be cool if there was, like, some writing on the wall in one room, and then you have to go over to another room and do something from that writing. But the fact that all the puzzles basically exist separately, I think that that's the frustrating thing to me, is it all just comes down to clean up the room and then see the information that's in front of you, and that's kind of lame.
Yeah, it is pretty lame.
So... that's Luigi's Mansion 3. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I really don't know if I like it or not. I can play it like 90 minutes at most, an hour and a half before I just get bored.
Yeah.
let's talk about Kingdom Hearts 3 though.
I'm so excited to hear about this because, man, that game came out, it just dropped off the radar. I'm so, like, for me, I'm okay. I'm an outsider aspect of the Kingdom Hearts. I played the first one. I thought it was really cool, but I never got into it, like, because people really got into the game and, like, loved the whole entire series. So, when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna blow up like shit. And I was like ready to like to see everything on YouTube and on the internet, and it was like nothing. It just died on launch. So I was like, oh fuck. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this game so far.
Dead on arrival, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
literally. It was like the best example of Dead on Arrival was Kingdom Hearts 3, at least from what I noticed.
Oh man. So keep in mind I bought this game for $13. Like I bought Slay the Spire and Dead Cells for more money than this AAA, like, 30-hour game, supposedly. So when I first loaded up this game, I couldn't stop laughing. I was just hysterically laughing at the screen for how bad it is, because...
No!
I played on... There's, like, standard mode, then hard mode, then proud mode, or then critical mode, and then... Wait. Proud mode, and then critical mode is the hardest. And from what I was reading, everyone says this game's really easy, play on the hardest mode. And I remember critical was added later, so I suspected people meant that. So I loaded up critical, and 3 hits from anything and you're dead. And if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts, it's a game where there's a lot of shit going on. Like,
oh yeah.
There's a guy, the first enemy that you face, the tutorial enemy, I faced him like 10 times, and I was just laughing at the screen. Just, like, imagine how the typical, like, angry video game nerd is. I'm like, oh, cool! Yeah, that totally hit me! Yeah, that's fair! This is what fair looks like! Like, I was alone in my room. Like, I had the house empty, so I was like, this is awesome! I'm glad I paid $13 for this game!
Oh, shit.
I was just so astonished at how bad the game was, because, like, the guy... the first enemy that you face, it's this, like, big... It's like a throwback to the first and second game. They always do the same first guy. And he kind of, like, slams his fist on the ground, and then, like, some orbs come up, and they like, track into you and stuff. And then there's, like, shit that rains from the sky, and you can't fucking see it. And so, like... You'll be walking around, an orb will hit you, and then, like, oh, that's, half of my health, a third of my health, and then the next one will hit you. And then when you're playing on critical mode, it doesn't even give you, like, the warning that your health is low, because it just does so much damage that if you're not paying attention, it's just boom, and then you're dead. And it's like, what? Typically, there's, like, a little siren, like, woo, woo, if your health is low. But this game, it's just like, bam! You're dead! Start over! So... I was just, like, so frustrated. This game is so retarded. So I continued playing for about an hour and a half on critical mode, and I finally called it, where there's this point where you've got to fight 3 or 4 battles in a row, and they're all hard as balls when you're first learning how to play the game. Like, any 3 hits, and I've got 1 potion, so, like, at that point, I didn't even have a potion. I had to go through 4 battles, and if I took 3 hits, I was fucking dead. So, I was, like, so close to doing it, and every battle, I would die a couple times, and then I'd make it, and then I'd get to the next battle, and I'd die, and then I'd, hit the retry button, and then, oh, cool, it didn't save after the last fucking battle that I beat, so I guess I've got to do that one over again. This game is the worst. And so, I was just going crazy. I'm laughing about it right now, but I was, like, losing my mind. I was like, this is so fucking stupid. So I decided to go back to proud mode, which is, like, the hard difficulty, and for some reason it's called proud mode.
Yeah.
And to get to the same spot that it took me an hour and 15 minutes to get to, I got to in 11 minutes.
It's so good.
How can you fuck up that bad? How can there be no middle ground between an hour and a half of gameplay and 11 minutes of gameplay? How does someone make a game where it's either, like, stupid little 6-year-old kid easy, or, like, you're fucking Faker on League of Legends, like, beating this game. How can there be no middle ground there? So I'm just cruising through the game now. But you know what's the craziest fucking thing, Mike? Is that I played this game for 4 hours straight yesterday. There is nothing that this game has that they've done correct, except for the fact that this game is actually an easy-going game. It's something to just turn off your brain to, smash X a bunch of times, see all the lights flare up, and it is actually, now that I'm past all that bullshit, I'm actually enjoying it a lot. So
how's
it
the
is
story?
No, don't even talk about that.
You don't get to talk about it.
Mike, the cutscenes are the worst. The acting is the worst. I don't think I've ever seen bad acting, even in foreign films. If they try to, like, force the foreigners to speak English, like, it is. They may as well just have been. It's terrible. The barrage of tutorial screens that they give you is the worst. You can't go from one fight to another fight without a cutscene happening and a tutorial screen jumping up. It's just all. It's so bad in every other way, but at the end of the day, I'm still playing it because the one thing that Luigi's Mansion 3 missed is progression. And even though the story sucks in Kingdom Hearts 3, and even though everything else is the worst, it has progression, and so it pushes you to play forward. I would give this game a 3 out of 10. I would give it a worse rating than Luigi's Mansion. But you know what I'm going to be playing after this podcast, Mike? Luigi's Mansion 3 or Kingdom Hearts 3? I'm going to be playing fucking Kingdom Hearts 3 because I actually sort of care about not the overall story with, like, light and darkness and whatever. What I do care about, though, is that you are going to different worlds and you are seeing new shit, and it's actually a little interesting to level up your character. Luigi's Mansion has none of that. So, even though this game is worse than Luigi's Mansion, I still am more excited to play it. I'm kind of stuck between...
Because you paid $13 for it.
Yeah. $13. I'm not even sure if it was worth $13. It's so bad, but at the end of the day, you know what? The combat isn't that bad. As I mentioned, there is nothing spectacular about it. Yeah. It's not challenging, but it's relaxing. When I'm done with work, when I'm done with this podcast, when I'm done with everything else, I could actually see myself enjoying this for a week or two because it's just a game that you turn off to.
Okay. So with that in mind, since you're going to play this after the podcast, does that mean that you've beaten Outer Worlds, or have you just stopped playing that game?
No, I stopped playing it because it's kind of like what you were getting at. And also what I said, too, is Outer Worlds doesn't really feel like there's a lot of progression to me. As much as they try to, like, push everything forward, I just don't give a shit about that world.
Yeah, I really don't either. We can go, because I played some more Outer Worlds. Did you play any more games?
No, that was it.
Now, let's hop into Outer Worlds. Yeah, I'm having the same thing, too. And, like, these characters that I'm going with, I'm just like, why are you telling me your problems? Like, the first chick you run to is an ally. I brought her with me. And I'm already regretting bringing her with me. Because now she's telling me her fucking unknown love life with this other person she wanted to talk to. And I'm just sitting there going, like, what? It's like, she's like, can we have a drink and talk about it? And I was like, not really. I don't want to do this at all with you. And I'm just like, and so I'm like, I'll maybe go get the drink with you later, but I'm like, I want to continue, like, my main mission, or just continue some type of mission, which is to go to this other planet that's a side mission, but I want to go there because then I can get this robot in my ship as an ally. So I'm like, I want to go to that planet. And so right now, I'm on that planet, and I did get the part that I need to bring the ship that I'm thinking is the part to bring the robot to life, so I have a robot ally. But I walked into a room, just in any other room that I walked in before, and I started looking around, just picking stuff up, just like scrounging around, and I just finally thought to myself, like, why am I scrounging through shit? I'm like, it's not like the apocalypse. It's like, it's not the end of the world. Why am I scrounging for stuff? The whole looting thing, I was like, it's kind of weird feelings like, why am I looting? Why is my character looting? It's not the end of the world. It's just like, I'm on a mission, and yet here I am looting crap and garbage and dead bodies when I should be doing the mission. But if I don't loot stuff, I'm not going to get gear. And then if I don't get gear, I'm going to be under stuff. But it's just like a weird whole thing, and it's kind of hard for me to get back in the game, and I don't know if I'm actually going to get back into playing it again, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm split between Outer Worlds as well, man. Like, the impression I get from it is I don't care about the story. I don't even know what's going on. I'm jumping from planet to planet for some reason. The guy that saves you at the beginning, like, where the fuck is he even involved in any of this?
He's in a lab. You can get to him now, right? I haven't gotten to him yet, but you can fly to him at any time you want to talk to him. Yeah. And so, basically, what I found with the story is that you're on a transport ship you're a colonist on a ship that was with other colonists to travel to some planet to colonize it. But something happened to it, and then the corporation decided it wasn't worth it, so they just to fix it, and so they just left you adrift.
I get that, but that's all what happens before you even start playing. Like, it sounds like you're at least 2 worlds or 3 worlds into the game, which is about where I am. Like,
the
what exactly are you doing there?
Yeah, like the scientists want to get you stuff to get the ship running to save the other colonists. And I'm like, but I don't really care. And I feel like the whole corporate tone is way over dramatic. It's just to a point where I'm just like, all right, this is stupid. And I'm like, it's just like how like everything's corporate run and all that stuff. It's like, oh, like everything like you do is like write a form. You have to pay for the form. It's like, oh, you don't have enough money for that form? Get a loan. Oh, you have to pay for that loan to get that loan to pay for that. And if you don't have that loan, if you don't have money to get that loan, here's another loan. You get this loan to pay for that loan to pay for that loan to pay for the part that that we gave you shitty part. And I was like, that was a small story I've written off of Turnimo. I was like, all right, this is like, I'm like, that's just too stupid. I'm like, I understand what you're trying to say. I'm like, there's some points to it, but that just so over dramatic that really just took me out of the world. And I'm like, I kind of want to work for the corporation now. I'm really planning on just killing my whole entire crew, going to the science lab, killing him, and going back to the things like, hey, I killed the guy. I'm really planning on doing that. I don't know. I think I might do that. And the weapons are boring too. I don't know. What do you think about the weapons? Like, they're different, but I also feel like there's no difference to them either. I'm like, I don't know. There's like, I found a lot of different weapons, but I just don't really feel any attachment to them.
The one thing that the game does really well that honestly they should have just expanded on is the dialogue. I love the dialogue. But the overarching story, I don't really care about. The weapons, as you're getting at, I think they're so-so. But even Fallout 4, there was like laser weapons, and there's laser weapons in this one, but there's like exploding bullets in Fallout 4, and all the weapons just kind of look the same in this one too. Fallout 4, and once again, I'm pulling from what is considered one of the worst Fallout games. Not Fallout 76 is different, but Fallout 4. Basically, a lot of people thought that game was also kind of a cop-out in comparison to New Vegas and Fallout 3. Fallout 4 still had, like, the Junk-O-Matic or whatever, the one that shoots
junk. Yeah, the combat in it was still good. I still enjoyed the combat in Fallout 4. It did lack in the dialogue choices, but it still had good combat in it. I agree. And the weapons were interesting, and they were fun to get.
Yeah.
In this one, when I got a new weapon, I was like, I don't really care. I don't know why. I just didn't feel like you said, they do look very similar too. And what was I going to say too as well? Fuck. Lost my train of thought.
It's kind of like Fortnite, where it's not like a bunch of different weapons. It's more like different quality of the same weapon. There's like maybe 3 machine guns in the game that I've come across, and all the different variations of that machine gun are like, this has poor quality, this is excellent quality, but it's all basically the same 3 machine guns. It's the same thing with pistols and with this and that. Like, they don't feel unique. And you can't take off
mods, which I thought was weird. I'm like, it's like you put a scope on a gun. It's like, that scope is not permanently stuck in that gun. I'm like, really? I'm like, even with a high-level engineer, I mean, even with a work table, I can't just unscrew the scope. It makes no sense to me. And Oh, and what's annoying too is that if you put a helmet on an ally, you cannot take that helmet off of them at all. You can replace it with another helmet, but you cannot remove that helmet from that person in any way.
So you can't just have them go
without any
without
helmet.
a helmet.
No, they have to have a helmet. You cannot take it off for nothing. It has to be replaced with something.
Interesting.
And the same thing with their chest armor too. You cannot just take off the chest armor. It has to be something there, which makes sense, I guess, because it's clothes. But still, there's no, which it's like, well, you don't give them a basic normal outfit to wear without them. But no, it has to be something there at all time, which makes organizing your inventory really annoying. And that's another problem in the game, is that the inventory setting is kind of bad, especially the health like inhaler thing, that you have to keep it stocked up, but then it's not effective. You can't effectively use it because it's like, okay, now I'm going to face these guys. Let me go in my menu and scroll through all this dialogue of other medical things that put in the right sprays with the right effects. They don't categorize it, all right, this is pure attributes, this is pure health, this is pure this doesn't mix. No, it's just a bunch of random jumbo in there. And it's like you have to read every little thing just to see how you want to combine your inhaler. Because I'm raising my medical, but in the end I'm like, they all fucking, it's so annoying to go through it. It's like I can't tell what's good and what's bad, and they all look so bland that they all look the same. So I can't like distinctly notice what does what.
See,
which
this is
annoying.
Whenever I see an inventory-based game, I always naturally compare it to Diablo, because Diablo, even in Diablo 2, they did a great thing, where the first thing you see is the name of the weapon, and it's shown in a color that you know the rarity, and the next thing is typically you see the damage output, and then anything beyond that are the attributes, and then at the very end, even in Diablo 3 you couldn't see it unless you held control over the item, then it gives you the fucking description, or like the, this weapon was forged in the fires, whatever. Like, that's not how the Outer Worlds does it. They give you the useless, pointless description shit first, right? And then you have to dig through and find, like, how does this help me? You have to go and find, like, where that comes into play afterwards.
And it's like, and I'm specializing medical, this should be, it's important information to read. I want to be effective, but I don't want to read through bullshit. It's just so time consuming. And at times, I'm like, I don't want to play this. I really don't want to go back and play it. I'm thinking about uninstalling it. It's like they have a great concept, but the dialogue talking is fun. It's really cool, the dialogue choices, because it really gives you a nice open selection for dialogues, and the choices are really well written out to where there are like things like, yes, I would have said this. It's nice. It was really cool seeing choices that I want to ask these people. They are really good in writing game dialogue. 100% on it, 10 out of 10. But when it comes to the game mechanics, they are bad. I hate to say this. I know it's a total different change from, what I said beforehand 2 weeks ago in the last podcast. I do not like it. Their game mechanics and how everything's set up is very poor. It's frustratingly poor.
Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of done with the game.
I don't think that you have to say that you were wrong before. You and I were both praising the dialogue, and even now we're saying the dialogue is still good. But just because the dialogue is better, it doesn't make everything else better. It's still, as much as an okay game as any other Fallout is. Like, that's kind of how I see the Outer Worlds. It has an okay combat system. It has an okay skill tree. It has an okay inventory. But after I've played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, now the Outer Worlds, like, I'm just fucking tired of that. Like, I wish they upgraded more than just the dialogue.
I hate the skill tree. The skill tree is boring.
Oh, I like it a lot.
Oh, but do you ever run into the thing where you can get negative effects?
Like if you like do, like, I fell from a height and it said, like, you broke your leg and now you have this or something. Is that what you mean?
Like, I ran into too many mines and got too many concussions, and it's like, oh, you took too many concussions. You can take this -1 to mind, but then you gain a level. And I was like, and it gave me a choice to pass. It's like, I'm gonna pass because my main character is on mind, and I was like, I don't want to do it. It would have been better if it just forced me. Honestly, it would have been cooler. But like it gave me an option. It's like you don't have to take it, but if you do take this -1 in mind, you get a free level. I'm like, that doesn't really sound worth it at all, and does it? It's like, I'll pass.
Yeah.
So
there was one I could have gotten for addiction to pain to medicine. And I was like, no, I think I'll pass on this addiction.
Yeah, it's weird that it asks you. It's like I can understand, and I was playing on like I think it was 4 difficulty levels. I was on the 3rd difficulty level because like the 4th one was like super realistic, and your partners die. If they die forever and all that stuff. I was like, well, that's kind of too fucking harsh, and I'm glad I didn't do that because the allies are still pretty fucking stupid, when it comes to combat, and like I said, it's not a fun game, but I have to give it credit what's due with the dialogue choices. They're really cool. The story's really cool. Like, the first storyline of the game was really fun to play through, and I love, like, the complete twist in the first storyline. I thought I laughed so hard when I found that out. I was like, oh, you're just a crazy bitch, too. I did not see that coming at all, if you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure I went through the same path that you did.
Should we spoil it then? I guess for the first part of the story.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. I was gonna say though that I'm kind of back and forth between the skill tree. Now that I think about it, I like that I like everything that I can level up. But what I don't like is that they're very vague about what certain things do. Even something like pickpocketing, if you level it up, it doesn't specifically say pickpocketing. It just says it's gradually easier, but it doesn't. No,
I like that. I do like that. That one, like you, I do like that. I don't like the perk choices. The perk choices are so bland and boring, and they just feel like, why not just give this to me instead of just make me pick these random things? They're not that big of a deal.
No, see, like I'm the opposite though. I like in Skyrim how when you click a skill to level up, it tells you specifically from 20%, now you've got 40% better pickpocketing. Like, I wish that I knew the chances of pickpocketing or my chances of stealing or sneaking or whatever before I did it.
Put in dialogue, and so it's like, it tells me the dialogues, like, I see an option, it's like, this needs Persuade 13. I'm like, and it shows up. I'm like, does that mean I had that level, I can do it? Or is that a chance for me to fail? Or is it saying I needed to Persuade to be at 13 to see that option? It doesn't make sense. I'm like, when I see a dialogue choice that says Persuade next to it. Because I have my guy is also a medic, and he's really good and very high in Persuade too. But in the dialogue trees, it doesn't really clarify what it means when it says like, like medicals. Like, it just shows you a number next to the medical. It doesn't clarify what does that mean of a percentage of like success, failure, or like the level you needed, how much you should pass. Like, what does that mean? Do you know what that means when you see those numbers next to them?
Like next to Persuade?
Like when you see like when you're in a dialogue with someone, and then it shows you a dialogue choice, and it shows you something like, this dialogue choice is something like engineer or
so those that's how many points that you need for it, and it wouldn't show the option unless you. I think it wouldn't show the option unless you had the ability to use it. At least that's the only thing I've gotten. But I'm going heavy into dialogue, like persuasion, lying, all that.
I haven't done. I'm going heavy in persuasion. I'm not doing lying or the other thing. I'm just going heavy into the dialogue, like the persuade thing, and so. It is so weird that I see them, but the number is so low. It's like 13. I have not seen anything high, like 50 or 60 or 70. It's like Persuade is always super low, a number. I've never seen anything higher than like 20, and so that's why I get confused by it. I'm like, am I just over leveling these things? Am I too high in these areas? But, I mean, I'm still effective in combat like crazy because of the bonuses of the medical and the science bonuses of special effect weapons and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
Which I give praise on that one because I beefed about that in the Fallout games when you go high in the beginning with science, but you don't get science weapons until like mid tier of the game, which is frustrating. But in this one, they give it to you right away, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree though with that. The thing it does clarify some things though, which is nicely like it says, we raise. Like, it does say, like, this gets raised up and this gets raised up, like, in damage with these weapons and stuff. But it's still very vague in a lot of cases that doesn't explain itself well.
Yeah.
And but I just don't care, which is funny. It's just every single time I'm like I want to play the game, I don't want to play it. I just say, oh, let's give it a try again, and I just play it. And I'm like, I don't care. And like these are cool dialogue choices, but in the end, I just don't care. I think this is like the first game that I played where the storyline is so plain and boring that I just don't want to play it. There's no interest in it for me. Yeah, I feel like it's like the Luigi Mansion thing 3 is. I think I'm getting the same feeling with that.
Well, there's just no progression towards the main story with that game. But I get that's kind of how Outer Worlds is. Like, if you're comparing the game to like Skyrim, I mean like Dragonborn, and even though I don't
Dragonborn, kill the dragons, and like even though I totally did not do that until the very end, like I totally blew that quest. You knew who you were. In this world, you were a badass. And the badass is gonna do what a badass does, and that's kill things.
I think the best thing about Skyrim is that, okay, well, let me start that over. The worst thing about the Outer Worlds is that it breaks itself into different planets, which means that once you go from one planet to another, basically nothing else from the previous planet matters. In comparison, though, Skyrim, the guilds and the factions that you join are ever present. So if you're in the Mages Guild, if you're in the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, you will take quests from those guilds, and you will go to different cities, and you will kill someone, or you'll defeat something with magic or whatever. Like those, and people recognize you. Like, oh, you're from the Mages Guild. Like, there's a bit more consistency in Skyrim with the type of person that you choose and the quests that you do.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I thought that was very funny. Because in the like with that, there was 2 factions on the first planet. It's like, oh, you gave favor for this one. It's like, okay, and then you say, oh, you gave favor for the other one too. I'm like, okay. And after that's done, you go to another planet. I'm like, so those favors don't really matter. I'm like, what do I gain from that? I'm never going by that planet basically ever again. I feel like, and I feel like gaining nothing having favor with either of them as well. Like in Skyrim though, like it mattered gaining favor with other people. I think you nailed it on the head. I'm just repeating what you just said. Yeah, I totally agree with you 100%. Mm-hmm. It just there's just no. Yeah, I think I'm done with the Outer Worlds. I don't even want to go in and kill the science guy at all. I just don't care. Yeah, it's one of those things. But so I played a bit of that, and like I ran to just that brick wall. I did play Into the Breach a little bit too myself though, because you said I should at least give it a go, and I did. Mm-hmm. And overall, I think it's a pretty good rogue game. But like I think it falls in the trap of like what most rogue games fall into though, is that it throws you into situations where it doesn't explain to you what exactly is going to happen if you do a certain thing, and then since you don't know that, it can fuck up the whole entire mission for that area, which I find very frustrating. Because even though, like, sure, you're supposed to lose, I don't like it where it intentionally doesn't explain what happens to certain things when you do when this happens to a thing. And to give an example, there was like, oh, protect the train. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna protect the train, and I just thought maybe it's just my knowledge. I know the train looks super beefy, so I'm like, okay, the train's going down the tracks. If you're in the way of the train, it will run you over. But the train can be destroyed by damage and stuff. And so I actually pushed an alien in front of the train to get run over by the train, and it blew up the train instead, and it killed the creature at the same time too. But I was like, well, you didn't tell me that was going to happen. I thought that all you showed me was the aliens attacking the train. You didn't show me anything about the train actually getting blown up when it runs into it. But besides that, though, it was fun. It was good, but
I did the same thing actually. So yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, I threw something into the train expecting it to get destroyed, and I failed the mission.
Yeah, and after that, I was really sour. But I mean, obviously you're supposed to replay the game, but I'm like, I don't want to go further into this game and then get really far, and then a new thing happens, and I found out, oh, by the way, this happens if you do that, but we didn't really explain it all that well. And in roguelike games, it's a huge fallacy in all rogue games. I don't really see anyone that does it but you need to fully explain things to the player if it's a one life and you're, and that's it kind of thing. Can't go half-assed and be like, oh, it doesn't matter, you're gonna die anyways. It's like, motherfucker, it's still frustrating as fuck, especially when you're doing so well. And I was doing very solid too. And the puzzles are fun to do. It's a very interesting way to play. And if you like rogue games, I think Into the Breach is definitely up a person's alley though to play. Definitely a game worth its money, I feel like, but just not for me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you gave it a shot.
Yeah.
Did you play? What's that?
No. Then what were you gonna say?
Just if you had played anything else.
I did actually. I bought and played God of War. I bought that yesterday and gave it a go. My fiance watched me play it, and so far, I got all the way to the witch, where the witch gives you the compass, and then that's when I realized, fuck, that was just the tutorial. Yep. And I just we decided this is a good stopping point. And so my first experience with fighting is that I went to the challenge, I chose the difficulty level where there's 4 difficulty levels, 1 story, 2's balance, 3 is for challenging combat, and then 4 is just, it's like God of War difficulty.
Yeah.
I started with the 3rd one, and I got killed 2 times in the tutorial to begin with. So I was like, all right, let's bring it to the balance level. So I immediately brought it back down the balance level. I was like, okay, this is more doable. I feel like, I'm Kratos, God of War. And then it was kind of funny, too, because after, the first enemies I fought that I was having issues with, then it showed me about blocking. I was like, motherfucker, if a person is playing for challenge mode, you tell them how to attack and block at the same damn time. And so I was a little bit frustrated about that. I think they can do a little bit better job with their tutorials, but so far I'm having a lot of fun with it. The unleveling skill trees for things is cool. I do wish that you had more of them unlocked when you start, because once again, it's just a tutorial though, so I don't know. So once again, I just went through the tutorial. I just think that you should have had a lot of the moves already unlocked for the character, since you're fucking Kratos, the God of War. And some of the stuff I unlocked now, I just feel a lot more badass, which is one of them is if you hold the strong attack, you do a fucking meaty swing, and then you dig your axe into a dude and you just cut into them, and then you rip it out by kicking them off. But if they're about to die and you hit them with that, it does a cool fucking fatality move instead, where it's so far I've seen 2 different ones, and me and my fiance are just going, fuck yeah. It's so brutal. Yeah. I am disappointed a little bit that, because in this game too, there is the stun, where you can stun an enemy, and then if they're stunned, you can do an instant kill. So far, for basic enemies, I've only seen 2. I wish there's a little bit more, just because it's God of War, but once again, this is just a tutorial. But I'm still loving the game so far. It's still really cool. The boy is hilarious. We love the boy. He's our favorite thing in the game so far, because when you grab onto things to climb, he suction cups to your back, and it's the funniest thing ever to see him do it.
Yeah. Hop on pop.
Yeah, especially if you do a big leap, he fucking shotguns onto your back and just sucks up onto you. It's the funniest looking thing, and we just love him. He's hilarious. Mm-hmm. But he's well written. We like his character. It just we don't hate him. We absolutely love the boy. It's actually a really nice development of a father-son thing, especially just a father who wants to teach his son how to survive, and he's just a harsh father.
How to not be a little bitch.
Exactly. And that's why I love him. He's I love Kratos as the dad's yeah, you tell him how to be not a bitch. It's yeah, love it. And it's really good. We're enjoying it. Especially when we unlock the moves. I do I complained about it, but I do like it how you can really customize your fighting style with the level trees, because you can choose range or melee, and I'm really like the melee, because it's just fun to go in there and just kick ass. But throwing the axe is cool, and there's some cool things to unlock. So I'm damn, this is kind of hard to pick, but I've decided, you know what? And I asked my fiance what should I do, and she's like, dude, let's be fucking badass and let's go immediately. I'm yeah. And so we just look and see what's the coolest moves. We don't want practical. We just want the most badass moves we want. And so that's all we're picking. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
That's how I've been playing the game so far. Is that I see choices and I'm like, which way should I go? She's like, go that way. I'm like, okay, we're going this way then. And so it's a huge. And she was really interested in too because of the graphics, and because she loved watching me play Horizon Zero Dawn because it was such a fucking beautiful game, and with robotic dinosaurs. And I told her, I'm like, well, this game you play as this god, this like demigod dude, and you kill fucking giant gods. And it's like, I want to watch that. I'm like, okay, sweet. So we haven't seen any real gods to fight. We killed like 2 giants, but I'm super excited to start fighting gods and stuff, because so far we only fought like the one type of enemy so far.
Did you get your ass handed to you by that one god?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
no,
that.
No, I didn't. I like that that first god you faced. Like,
yeah.
I didn't lose to him though, but yeah, it's awesome that like all of a sudden you're getting your ass kicked. I didn't like lose. I don't know if you can lose or not, but I'm glad you reminded me about him because I want to talk about that. That was
he just
fucking
whips
insane.
You around.
Yeah,
it's the
like
coolest battle.
Yeah, and it's like the game is so beautiful that you think you're in a cutscene. It's like, no, you're actually in gameplay. I'm like, oh shit, I need to be blocking these punches that he's punching my face, and it's like, oh shit, I'm actually controlled now again.
Yeah, I think that's Balder. I think or something. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. So it was so cool to watch that fight happen because it would go into like these little cutscenes that are not actually cutscenes. They're like quick time events, but it doesn't give you the bullshit like, oh, it doesn't slow down times like hit circle, hit circle, hit circle. No, it's expecting you to know when to hit the block button and when to hit the strike button, all that stuff. So it was so fucking cool. And so I was like, that's how you do these like. So I don't want to call it a cutscene battle scene. It's part of the whole fight because it goes in and out of it seamlessly. You don't even see it happening. You just know that you're fucking fighting this other god, and it's just intense. And it was really funny because like when I first started the fight with him, he's only fighting me bare hands, and so I was like, all right, I just pulled over my axe, and he was like, I was like, what are you doing? Like, well, he's fighting with his bare hands. I'm gonna fight with my bare hands too. We're gonna fucking fisticuff this motherfucker. And so then after a while, when he threw me through a fucking tree, he's like, all right, I'm kind of pissed right now. So I just pulled my axe out and just started going to town. It was cool. It was so much fun. And I just give it major credits just for, like I said, between the grapplings between each other and the dialogue. Fucking fantastic. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really stoked to play more of it. It's one of those games that she wants to sit and watch me play and all that stuff. And it was just a funny moment too when we went through so much in the game, so much, and then I heard her say like, "Here's a compass," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And like the tutorial was like, "Oh, you have a compass." This I'm like, "Wait, I have a compass?" Like this is not like, wait, what's going on? And then it just like pushed me out her door, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's just a tutorial. This game's gonna be long as fuck."
Yeah.
And so I'm like super excited. I'm just so excited just to explore it and all that. She absolutely loved the witch. She loved the witch character and all that stuff. And she's like, I hope we see her again. I'm pretty sure we might. Hopefully we do too.
Is she the witch in the tree or who?
The witch in the tree / turtle.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't want to say the turtle in case you hadn't been there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a super cool place.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. We absolutely loved it when you walk up to it and the turtle, all that stuff. It's fucking beautiful. The whole game is beautiful. It's great to look at. I'm playing on the higher resolution. It gives you the option to play at 1080p or 2160, and I got the PlayStation 4 Plus, so I'm playing at the higher resolution. And so far, no issues playing on that resolution on the Pro. It runs fantastic. I'm just really excited to see how the combat plays now because, like I said, it was repetitive at first, but it was the tutorial, and I've already unlocked like 2 really cool moves, like combo moves and stuff to break up that's like the repetitives, and it's just the beginning too. So I'm really excited to see what's happening further on. And then the shopping is nice too. It's straightforward and pretty easy to understand so far.
Yeah, I really didn't like the game for the first hour or two, and then by the end of it, it became my game of the year that year. So
okay, because I was having the same feeling too when I was playing through the tutorial. I'm like, all right, this is getting kind of repetitive. I'm not really running into anything challenging. Then like the first god boss was cool, and then it died down, and so now after I hit now I know past the tutorial, it's really picked up again. So yeah, I was on the same boat with you, which makes me feel better too. knowing that you had the same experience as I did. So I'm pretty fucking pumped about that.
Yeah.
And besides that, yeah, those are the games I've just played. Like a little bit into the Breach, try to get through the Outer Worlds again, but I'm actually, I think I'm putting my foot down. I think I'm done with the Outer Worlds. And I'm going to be playing some more of the God of War, playing that down when my fiance is down to watch me play it. And yeah, so far, but yeah, I can't wait to play some more of God of War. And I do. Oh, the funny thing too, as well, is like how we talked about the whole looting thing being annoying. That boy, I think his name is Artemis, needs to pick up the fucking money for me. I don't know why Krotos is going up, picking up pennies, off the ground when he has a kid doing fucking nothing. That kid should automatically be picking up all the items off the ground for me. Don't know why that, they have you doing it yourself. This is my only complaint in the game. Even my fiance was saying the same thing too. It's like, why the fuck are you picking up? You have a boy. You should be doing it. She was just saying boy.
That's what a boy's for.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is that kid doing? He just does nothing but shoot dinky arrows.
Boy.
Yeah. That's all I've been immediately doing since I've been playing the game is boy.
Mm-hmm.
But the dialogue between them is fantastic. The story between them is really good. I can already see like the whole plot already, kind of understanding like, cause it's very mysteriously it kind of keeps you in the shadows. And I didn't play any of the other God of War games because I grew up with because that was like PS3 and I had a PS2. I had a PS1 and stuff and a PS2, but I never played in the God of Wars. So I don't really know much of the storyline of the past of Krotos. But with this storyline, you kind of have a basic understanding of what's going on already, which I'm totally cool with. I'm just really excited to play further into it and see what we run into.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my rant for God of War, though. Fantastic. Love it. Can't wait to play some more.
Nice. We're running a little slow here, but I saw two movies. I saw two in the movie theaters in the last few weeks here. I just wanted to briefly go over them.
Oh, yeah. And I'd like to go over... Yeah, I saw two movies, too, that you saw that I'd like to go over, too, as well. And I've watched a whole bunch of older movies, too, that I won't go into details about because I haven't seen them. But what are the two movies you saw in theaters?
So, we'll just go really briefly over these. I saw Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining.
Heard a lot of bad things about that. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was good. The only thing that I really had a problem with is that they never really explain what the hell The Shining actually is. Even after two movies, they just kind of use that as a phrase to, like, describe everything that's supernatural going on around them. But otherwise, I liked it a lot.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And, what was the other movie you saw?
So Dr. Sleep, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. The other movie I saw just came out. It didn't get a whole lot of... I didn't see a whole lot of trailers or anything for it, but it's called Ford versus Ferrari. Have you heard about this?
No. What's that one about?
It's a historical event. It's nonfiction. But Ferrari, back in the 1960s, they were winning these racing tournaments all the time, and but they didn't have a lot of money. And Ford was trying to think of a new angle for people to buy their cars, so they were proposing to buy Ferrari. So they go to Ferrari, and Ferrari basically just like cusses them out, and it's like, "Fuck you!" Like Ford is like a piece of shit asshole everyday Joe kind of car. We make Ferrari, we make fucking art. You shit on a toilet. And so basically the movie is. And this is a real story, but Ford decides to make a race car to compete against Ferrari in this 1960s European 24-hour long racing event, and it's really cool, and it's got an awesome cast, and right now on Rotten Tomatoes it's got like 99%. Like, people are saying it's amazing, and I'm not gonna say it's that good, but I would give it probably like, I mean, I would say a 9 out of 10. Like, it's not a 99, but I would say, like a 90% or something. I thought it was pretty darn good.
Nice.
And it's got some really big names in it, too. Christian Bale, the guy who's fucking Batman, and Matt Damon. and a bunch of other big names as well that I can't think of, but it's super good. And check it out if you haven't heard of it before. Ford versus Ferrari.
Nice. I saw a bunch of movies, but two of them is the ones that you saw that I'd like to talk about. One of them was Midsummer.
Yeah.
Finally saw that. Acting, 10 out of 10. The whole set designs, 10 out of 10. Man, I'd rather go back to the acting too. The acting, like I said, is fucking phenomenal. Beautiful. Like, I've never seen every single actor, even like the side characters and the background characters, all of them need to be given an Oscar for how good they were in this movie. Just fantastic. The story, for me, complete utter trash. I did not care for the story. I thought, yeah, it just did not sit with me. You're right. I don't think it was complete trash, but I just did not care. But what got me was the acting. These characters are full unbelievable, and they really carried the whole thing for me. It was a movie that I was watching, and I was going like, wow, I really don't like this movie, but like the acting was so damn good, I kept on watching. It really saved the movie. I gave the movie about 5.5 out of 10 for me. Maybe honestly though, but if you want great acting tips and some great actors, definitely give this movie a watch. That's why I'm just so conflicted about this movie. It's the acting. It's so fucking good. The boyfriend, the main girl, both of those characters fantastic. The other characters so good, and just there were some moments were kind of outrageous, like if you know the dumb character or the party guy, he was kind of, his acting was good, but it's the writing's fault though. It was all the writing, not his fault, that they made it like him 10 times stupider in some random part in the story just for the story. And I was like, no, that's too stupid. You made him unbelievable anymore. It just like, it destroyed his character for him. It was like, all right, that's just too stupid for me to even believe. And they sadly do it to the intellectual character too as well, the black guy. I feel like that they really kind of turned them they added a little bit extra level to unbelievable for story's sake, which is which is my only beef with their acting. But once again, that's not their acting, that was the story. Their acting though was superb. Everyone's was fantastic. And the shots were very beautiful too. I absolutely love the set designs. They're very nice to look at and very beautiful.
It's interesting because it's actually one of the few horror films that almost never has a night scene in it.
Yeah, that's true. And you did it does give you a nice, like, I feel like, all right, so I don't like the movie, but I'm not much fan of cult movies that much in a sense, and but it does give you a nice eerie feeling that there's something wrong, but I was never scared. I always felt off in the entire of the movie, but I never felt scared in any way.
Yeah,
I felt bad for all the characters in it and felt good for them too. And I don't want to spoil this movie. And in the end, like, see, this is what's my problem with it.
Well, you remember my critique, right? I said that I thought everything about it was good, but it was a little slow, and I thought that there was no real big payoff at the end. I thought that the ending could have been a lot stronger.
But I did enjoy the dialogue for all the characters and stuff, and it's one of those movies that I'm going to say is that you're not going to like it, but it is a movie that you should see. Which is a funny thing to say. You're not going to like it, but I think, at least for people that are like me, I don't know why. I'm very complicated about this. I have very mixed feelings about the movie.
Well, I just always, even with the first time I saw it, I knew that you wouldn't like it, because I know that
you nailed it on the head. But
I know that it's just really slow for you.
Yeah. And it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm all about fast. I do think that there was no real payoff. Even my fiance watching it didn't feel like there was any real payoff. We kind of, at the ending, we're like, oh, that's the ending kind of thing. We both had the exact same feeling. And we both felt like we walked away disappointed, but we both did love the acting in the end. I also but that's Midsummer. I think it's a movie that you should go see, but not on your top of your list. Rent off Redbox, or if it's on a streaming service, definitely give it a go. I saw Scary Story, and I totally agree with you. on that the only really scary monster was the Red Room. I thought.
Oh, scary stories to tell in the dark. Yeah.
Scary stories to tell in the dark. Yeah. Ben's favorite creature was the Red Room, and that was mine as well. It was the only creature that actually matched the art style of the book, and they should have had all the creatures do the same thing as well. And I felt like this movie was exactly the same type of scariness to Goosebumps, the movie.
Yeah. I mean, the plot is almost identical.
It is a joke. It's just a non-serious. It's definitely a passable movie. I would give this, honestly, a 4.5 out of 10.
It's just a shame because Guillermo del Toro is the director, and he did Pan's Labyrinth and a bunch of other amazing movies. It's just such it's
I
so
just don't
weird.
know what happened. Yeah, I guess he got scared because like I guess other people thought his other movies were too depressing, and he tried to switch it up. I guess I don't know. It just seems so not like him because his movies are super depressing, like really depressing. But this one was just. Yeah, it was just campy. It was just, it wasn't scary at all. And the creatures, and with the Red Room creature, it kind of made me upset a little bit because I'm like, well, this creature matches the exact style of the Scary Story book. Because but all of them other ones did not. I was like, it's kind of like, what's going on here? How does this creature match the book, but every single other one did not at all? But yeah, it was a fun movie to make fun of as we watched it. We kind of just made fun of it. I watched that with my fiance. But yeah, 4.5 out of 10. Definitely a pass. You're not missing anything. And doesn't really bring any memories back from the book, for me at least. And I read that book a lot of times myself. I absolutely love that book. But yeah, definitely a pass. Don't need to see it. But since it was my birthday week, I also got some money for Amazon and then from a friend, and then I also got some money from my mother, and I used both of them to buy a shit ton of movies. And I've heard that Disney was taking a lot of the Fox movies off the rosters to be only on Disney Plus. So I bought a lot of Fox movies and some other movies I've been watching. So like some movies
Fox
I bought,
movies,
like Fox Studios. Like I bought the Die Hard series.
Oh.
Right. I actually watch all of those. The third one's actually my favorite one. The third one nailed it, and that's one with Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
That's actually better than the first. The second one was worse than the first. The third is the absolute best. The fourth is meh, and the fifth one I do not care for the fifth at all. I thought that was terrible directing in the fifth one. I've also bought the Mummies trilogy. I bought the Harry Potter series. I bought Jurassic Park 1 and 2, and then I also then have the Sherlock Holmes 2 movies coming in. I have bought all 4 of the Predator movies. And then what else did I get to? So like, these are like all of them. I just went crazy on movies because they were super cheap. All of them on Blu-ray too. Oh, I got both Independence Day movies. I was only going to get the first one, but the pack for both was cheaper than just buying the one separately. So I was like, all right, might as well get them both.
Okay.
And which is weird. I bought the Ghostbusters 1 and 2, the original, the Indiana Jones series in Blu-ray. I don't think that one comes with the Crystal Skull though. I hope not. I hope it doesn't come with it. Jumanji, and then the first Jumanji, the original one, and then the Men in Black trilogy set too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I have all those coming out on Tuesday, and so we're really excited to watch like the Predator series together, and what else? And the Men in Black ones again too. And so I just bought a shit ton of old movies. It was great. And I just got this huge bug again in me because you know me, Ben. Like I love collecting movies, and I just went nuts on it this time. Got so many. I'm so happy.
Mike loves his movies.
I do. I like expanding my collection, especially now on like Blu-ray when they're only like $7 to $9. Like yes. Now is the right time.
I was gonna pick up a lot of things once Black Friday came around.
Yeah, especially now since 4K is coming out, Blu-ray is super cheap. Like Blu-ray is now like the price of like what DVDs were, and DVDs now are just like $4 or something like or $5. And so I'm like, yes, And then down the line, when something comes better than 4K, I'll start buying 4K movies then. Because then they'll be like the same price as Blu-rays. But I don't know what the difference is going to be between 4K and Blu-ray. I don't know, like, how good can something get, especially when you're just, like, if it's an older movie. You don't know if you can really improve it that much.
Depends on your screen size, but yeah. So 4K would be about 4 times the resolution. But it depends on if you can even notice that or not. So if you have an 8K TV, which are now coming out, that's more resolution than if you went to an IMAX theater. So you don't need that much resolution. And supposedly 4K, it's good to have, but there's more than just... We're getting to the point where it's more than just a pixel count. Like, you need a TV with good color. You need a TV with a lot of different other features, more than just resolution.
I'm just happy with Blu-ray.
Yeah, if you've got something that has Blu-ray, then for the most part, you're fine. Unless you've got a personal theater or something, you're more than good.
Yeah, I'm more than happy. I'm like, I have no plans of really getting 4K at all unless it drops, like, but the only reason why I would ever do it is that they stop making Blu-ray players, you know? But I'm pretty sure that 4K players are going to be able to still play Blu-rays. But I don't know, you think that, like, those type of players will be able to play DVDs anymore? Or will DVDs be too old to play on them?
Oh, I've got no idea.
Yeah, that's something I'm curious what will happen to that. It's just cool that we're still on discs, though. It's very interesting to see that.
Yeah.
Like how fast we've been switching through formats, but discs has been surviving pretty long time so far compared to other formats and how fast they died out.
Yeah, like a cassette or something. Vinyl.
VHS. What was that? I'm having, like, I can't for the life of me remember. What is that other format that was competing with VHS? It was like a big record disc. What did they call those?
Betamax?
Was it Betamax, where it's like a giant record player size for DVDs? It was like laser discs.
Oh, I think that one was Laserdisc.
Laserdisc, yeah. One of my coworkers, he has the original Star Wars, the edited version on Laserdisc. I was like, motherfucker. I'm like, what? He was like, yeah. I was like, do you have a Laserdisc player? He's like, no, it died. I was like, damn. He was like, I know. That's the worst. I'm telling you, man, if Disney releases like a DVD format of the original Star Wars before it was edited, I would drop like $200 on that. That'd be the max I'd put down for it, but I would die for an unedited Blu-ray version of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I would love that so much.
All right.
But yeah.
Do you want to jump into the top 5?
Yes, we've been going on for quite a bit.
All right. Our top 5 this week is top 5 Melee games. So the way that I described it to myself is you can't be using a gun as a primary weapon. But Melee doesn't mean just your fists. If you're using a sword or a shield or a club or an axe or whatever, that's also acceptable to me.
Yeah, I did that. I avoided any games that had solid melees, but also had guns in it. I did not include those. I just focused on games that were just pure melee, which included just melee weapons as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I formatted my list too.
All right. Well, do you want to go first or should I go first?
You went first last time, so I'll be going first this time. My number five is Chivalry Medieval Warfare. This is a
Chivalry. Okay, yeah.
Chivalry. Sorry, thanks.
I thought I heard celery. I was like, what?
No, I said like silvery instead of silvery. Medieval Warfare. It was one of like the first. It was one of the first multiplayer, first-person close like melee only game I ever played that I felt was actually really effective and like actually like not like the best system, but actually felt like solid and like, okay, I can actually play this and be fun. And sure, there's bows, but like it's like 1 or 2 classes, that's it. But the rest of it's all like melee, close combat, all that stuff purely. And it's just fun. It is so much fun to be in a huge battle with other people and stuff, just like clashing swords and shields and stuff, spears, halberds. It's just chaotic. It's like it is a great example of what it was back then, because you can barely tell who's an ally, who's an enemy, and there's just screaming going on as you're swinging your weapon and blood and like just blades everywhere. It just gets fucking crazy. And like the funniest moments that I do, like one of the moments I do remember fondly in this game though is that occasionally that you be fighting someone and then all of a sudden they just whip out their fist only. And then it's like there's a pause. And then I would just whip my own fist too, and we just go at each other, just beating the fuck out of each other. And then like it would always break down like that. For some reason, there's this unwritten rule: if someone puts on their weapons and puts up their fist, you have to do the exact same thing, no matter what. It's just the funniest thing, because every single time I put my fist up in that game, the other person I was fighting would do the exact same thing, and we'd just go at it, swinging at each other.
It's great.
It's like moments in that game that I absolutely loved, but it was just like how big it was. And I know that there's other games that come out. I didn't never play them, that I think that they've done better and improved even more on it. But this is the one I've played, and it was just overall so enjoyable. I think they came with the second one, and if you want just like complete chaos of what like how it was back then, of just just the amount of chaos it must have been. Because I can't imagine, after playing that game, I just can't imagine how anyone knew what the fuck was going on in these massive battles when they just clash with each other. How you can even tell, like, who is who is just nuts. But that's, my number 5 is Chivalry Medieval Warfare. My number 4 is Skullgirls. Ben, you and me played this game a lot together, and this was one of the... It's an indie game made by a small team of people, and it's just a solidly, really good and fun combat system, and I've really enjoyed all the characters in this game. And I'm not a big fan of fighting games, like of just like one-on-one side-scrolling fighting games, and that's what Skullgirls is.
Yeah.
But this one, I absolutely loved. Like, I actually do not like Mortal Kombat. I did not like the Tekken series. I was not a fan of like the other ones, but for some reason Skullgirls just clicked with me. It was a straight up, they just nailed it. It was so fluent, it was so good looking. Each character you played it was super unique, and each ability was way different from the next. And it was just really good. I enjoyed it. I played that game so much and had a blast playing with it. And especially for just being an indie game, if I have much more passion for it, maybe because it's kind of like one of those games that no one knows about. Maybe that's why I like it a lot more and why it's on my top 5. But still, if you really do like sides, I don't know what you would call it. It's not 3D fighting. It's like a side scrolling.
It's called FGC. Those games are for the fighting game community, so they call them FGC games.
FGC, okay, because like I'll be honest, I'm barely into that. So if you're into it, those type of games, and you're just trying to find something new to play, but it's still that, Skullgirls is definitely a game you should pick up and give a go. It is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun with play with other people too. Obviously, I mean, any game is fun with other people, but I over enjoyed it so much. It was fantastic. Mm-hmm. My number 3 is For Honor. I think everyone should probably know what For Honor is. It is a Ubisoft game. If you just want to, this game is like one of those games that if you just want to feel like an ultimate badass in a battlefield, you play For Honor. And it has the fighting styles of Chivalry, but I felt like they've ramped it up and made it even more efficient. And this game is just filled with testosterone. You just feel like a motherfucking badass when you play this game. You just feel like a real fucking soldier. You feel like fucking Hercules. You feel like Thor, just like swinging your weapon, the clashing, and like there's a lot of different game modes. And honestly, the weirdest thing, my favorite game mode in this game is when you just do one-on-one, because you can do like these games called like Siege, where a team is attacking a fortress and they have to protect their ram, and the ram destroys 2 sections of walls, and then when they destroy the second wall, they have to kill their leader, and their leader is this huge king that's an NPC. And then once they kill the king, they win. But if they lose all of their tickets, they lose. Or if the ram gets destroyed before they destroy the second gate. They've also have capture points where you capture points, and then whoever gets to the Whoever gets to 1,000 points in that one, the other team starts to, quote, break. And what that means when a team breaks is that they can no longer respawn when they die. But if you knock their points under 1,000 again, then you unbreak and you can respawn again. And so there's some back and forth that can happen in that, which is really fun. It's a nice new spin on captured points because there's multiple points and stuff. And so there's a way to like actually come back in a way, but it's not like you can't stupidly come back though. You still have to be really like solid if you're getting destroyed though. But there's still some leeway to come back, which is nice and some balance.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, my favorite one is when you just do one-on-one, when you just fight another person, and then you just fight each other. And then like I've just like explained everything, but there's also like character, like you can pick characters, like there's barbarians, knights, samurais, and then they added they had like Chinese Vikings. And then like Japanese, and Vikings. And so like each one is like different, and like each class, there's different classes in those characters. Like in the Japanese, there's the samurai. There's also this huge like fucking sumo size guy you can play as, who just carries this giant fucking metal bat. There's other characters that are nimble and light that use spears. You can play as a gladiator. You can play as a hulking berserker Viking that uses a huge fucking axe. Or you can play as a Viking that plays with a sword and a shield. There's also like there's so many different characters you can play as, and they're just, the gameplays are quick and fast, except for Barrage. Barrage is a much longer gameplay, but the other ones are nice and quick, like in Rainbow Six Siege. So like there's not a lot of dedication into it. So like if you lose, it's not like, oh, I spent like 45 minutes playing, fuck. It's just like, okay, whatever, next round, let's have some more fun. It's great. Even when you get killed, it's still fun because like these fights are just so intense and fun, and calculating how to do like how to work around their defense and how they work around yours, how to be offensive. It's great when you fucking kick someone and they just fall off the edge and die. Yeah. I think like one of my favorite fights I had, like I was doing a one-on-one match with this one dude, and we were having this one whole intense fights. Like, you know, we go in these matches that go on forever. I'd kill him, he'd kill me, and then like we're on the final match, and then I just charge him, and all of a sudden he just like fucking whips me around and just throws me off the edge, and the match was over in like 2 seconds. The final match, like we had this huge build up, and I just get thrown off in 2 seconds, and it was just like one of those moments. It's just like, it was just Chad is like, good game. It was like, good game.
The end.
Yeah, it was just like one of those moments. Like, I wasn't mad. I was just laughing my ass off because it was the funniest thing. And but it's just so solid. There is some like cheesing in the game, but so like the system's not 100% perfect. So like there can be some frustrating like things that you can easily take advantage of. And if you're really bad at the game, you can get waffle stomped. So it's one of those things that doing one-on-ones is a great thing to start off with, just to learn how to fight. And you will die a lot in the game, but it's like, I didn't mind getting my ass handed to me because it was just so much fun. It was just so different and cool. But yeah, that was my number 3 was For Honor.
Yeah, that game, I wish I liked that style of game a bit more, because it seems like it is one of the better melee combat kind of. I don't know specifically what you would call that, but
it's like combat melee and when it's just not just one-on-one. It is, I think it has done the best for doing like multiple, when there's just not 2 people fighting immediately. I feel like they've nailed it so far. It's all in third person though. There is no first person in that mode. It's all in third.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really beautiful looking game too.
Mm-hmm. All right. So my top 5 melee games, my number 5 is Diablo 3. And the thing that really resonates well with me with melee games is when there's impact with each hit. And when you're playing a barbarian in Diablo 3, when you hit, there's a ton of impact. The enemies go flying. There's like a big... the thing that I hate is when you're playing Skyrim and you swing your weapon, and whether you hit something or you don't, it's the same basic animation. Like Diablo feels to me like there is a lot more of an impact when you do hit things. You know, barrels explode, skeletons, they rip apart into pieces, enemies that are like demons, they
if they're made of like flesh or something, the flesh rips open and all that. So I think that playing Diablo 3 as like a barbarian character always has felt pretty darn immersive, and the hits just really feel impactful. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I do fully agree with you. When playing Diablo 3 and all that stuff, there is that they have a perfect sound system, and it's one of those things I wish that like my computer had like a bass system into like a rumble in it, because it really just because they do a fantastic job making you feel like you're doing a shit ton of damage to an enemy, or you're really impacting the ground when you do your swings. Yeah, I agree. When you see enemies swing and do damage, yeah.
There's a bunch of small little like graphic effects too. I mean, it's not like a big sonic wave, but you can see like
little
a boom,
particles, bones, like pieces of the enemy falling in, like reacting to like the move you did.
Sure, and
especially
so
when they explode. It's great.
Yeah, and that always was one of the most appealing things about the game to me, is that each hit feels very impactful. Depending on how you play it, it can be melee, or if you're gonna play like a mage or a demon hunter, it cannot be melee. But the fact remains the same, is that every hit feels very powerful in that game. They did a really good job of, your character, it's an isometric, so he's kind of like a smaller person on your screen in comparison to like any other game, where your character might be blown up a lot bigger to cover up more of the screen. Your character is relatively small in Diablo 3, and yet still the hitting and the sound effects and the design really sells that point of like, boom, you're doing a ton of damage. So Diablo 3 is my number 5. My number 4 is not one specific game, but a series. It's the Batman Arkham series, and I like
good one.
I like the combat in those a lot. This also did the same thing, where once again I mentioned the biggest thing to me is impact, and Batman, whenever you finished an enemy, it kind of did like a slow motion, then like boom, like you could really tell like that guy was not getting up after that punch or that kick. And I remember I thought that the combat was a little repetitive in terms of like the dodging and hitting, but it was so fluid that it almost didn't matter. Batman flipping over enemies and dodging punches and all. As repetitive as it was, the animation was so fluid and the hits were so powerful that it really didn't fucking matter. I thought that had great melee to it. And I'm kind of rushing through these, but just because my voice hurts a little bit. I think I was yelling a bit too much about Kingdom Hearts earlier.
Well worth it.
Yeah. My number 3 is Sleeping Dogs. So this is a game that maybe people have forgotten, or maybe they haven't heard of, but Sleeping Dogs came out on like PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era. It's a game where you are a guy in Hong Kong, and it's basically like Grand Theft Auto, but there's a big emphasis on no guns, just melee. And it's great because this game is actually from the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. It was supposed to be a sequel, but it was not a sequel, but based off of the games True Crime and Streets of LA. So a lot of taekwondo, a lot of jiu-jitsu hand-to-hand combat, and it's just great. I mean, you can grab someone, you can just like boom, 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 like kneel them over and punch them in the face a couple times, and then like punch them and they flip backwards, like uppercut them back off their feet onto their back. One of my favorite things to do was to this hardly has to do with melee combat, but it kind of does. Is once again, it's like Hong Kong Grand Theft Auto, where you can drive any car, you can beat up any person, and one of my favorite things to do is to grapple, to grab a woman off the streets, and you can throw them in your car. But you can put them in the trunk, and it's really funny. Like, everything about the melee and the animation is great, because instead of like opening a trunk and throwing someone in, what you do is you take the back of their head and you slam it down on the trunk, and the trunk opens, and then you throw them in, you throw the thing shut. Like, it's so brutal.
I think you showed me this game once, and you're just doing that.
Yeah.
I think you're the one who showed me that game, yeah. I used to remember that because of that scene.
I used to laugh so much. I mean, the melee was just so much fun. It was the best part. But yeah, so I would always, take my girlfriend out on a date in the game where you find a girl on the street, throw her in your trunk, and you go driving her around.
Yeah. That's why I remember now. Exactly that. You said we're gonna go get the girlfriend. I was like, oh, okay. You just did that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just fucking kick her ass. Like, all right.
But I mean, everything
so
about
funny.
everything about this game was intense. I mean, I haven't played it in years, so my memory escapes me a little bit. But like how you could interact by hitting the person's head on the trunk and throwing them in. There's other things that you could do where you could like, if you were fighting someone next to like a phone booth, you could kick them into the phone booth and they like hit their back against the telephone, and like it's like sparks fly out, and then you punch them and punch them and punch them, and like the glass is breaking around the telephone booth. Like it's just so violent and intense with its melee. It's so fucking cool, and you can do that with anything. Like you can, I don't know if you can like exactly like curb stomp someone, but I think that if you're fighting someone on a roof and there's like a rooftop unit, like a air conditioner, you can like take their face and throw it into the fan, and it's just like like it's fucking crazy. I haven't played it in years. I hope I'm thinking of the right game, but I'm pretty sure that I am. It's a game where you can just like beat the shit out of anyone and use like all the what would you call it?
Stuff.
Environment, yeah. Even just if you had a wall, just taking someone's head and bashing it against a wall, like I feel like a crazy person by saying how much enjoyment I got out of all this, but that game was it was so immersive. The more I think about it, the more I think it should be higher on my list, but I'm going to I'm actually going to keep with what I've got, because I think my 1 and my 2 are pretty darn good as well.
Yeah.
Mike, what's your number 2?
My number 2, I would have to say, is Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur is definitely my number 2, just because of that game has the most precise fighting I've ever played in any fighting game I've ever played. Like, just like, what'd you say it was called?
Fighting game community, so FGC, or you could just call him a fighter.
A fighter, yeah. I've never played a series in fighting before where I just felt like everything in the game was fair and just so well balanced and solid mechanics in a game. In any other game but in Soul Calibur. Like, in a lot of fighting games, I always felt like things were just badly just designed, or too slow, too fast. I felt like Soul Calibur was the one game that was perfectly designed, especially their customization too. And you can make any character you want in that game. And I love it too that I haven't played, like, I played Soul Calibur 1, 2, and 3. I haven't played the newest one, but I'm happy that they went even more crazier with the customization in the game. It is the best customization I've seen so far in most games.
Yeah,
but,
I haven't played any of them, so fill me in.
But my favorite, though, is just the combat. The combat is so fucking good. I mean, there's not much else I can say about Soul Calibur. It's one of those things you just have to play. I don't know, like, if I said it already, but it's one of those things that, like, any mistakes I made in that game, I always felt it was my fault, or I could have done better. I never felt like I got gypped, or like I felt I got cheesed in a certain combo. It is one of those games that I really dove into and learned everything I could about the game and got really good at it. And even when I wasn't that good, I just had a blast with it. And I think it's one of those games that I think if anyone wants to get into a fighting game, and especially a good one, I think Soul Calibur is one of those games that you need to get. And there's not much else I can say about the game, because like that's why I really like it. That's why it's so high on my list. It's just a solidly well-made game. It's just perfect. But yeah, that's my number 2. The character designs are great though too, but the characters are fucking out of this world. They're really cool looking and fun and all that. It's like I didn't say, like, I said a lot more about the other games, but it's just like there's a reason why it's in my number 2 is because it's just a fucking solid game. It's just perfectly solid. And then yeah.
I wish I could contribute more. I've never played any of them, but I mean I heard that there's a Soul Calibur 4 that maybe it's on the Humble right now. Maybe it was announced, but I remember that was in the news somewhere.
Who knows? Like with Xbox Pass, it might be on there eventually, and so definitely give it a go then. I just got burned out in fighting games, and also I'm not that huge of a fighter fan myself.
Well, you'll notice none of the games on my list are specifically fighter games, even though it's a Melee list. So I'm with you. Okay, my number 2 is, surprisingly, Kingdom Hearts 2. So, this game does not have a lot going for it in terms of story, but the one thing that I have always liked about Kingdom Hearts, and it is surprisingly also following through with the third one here, is that the combat is really fluid and really fun. Even if it's just really basic, you just beat the shit out of people in that game.
It could get hard, though. Fucking Sephiroth in the first one, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bent me over and fucked me over 10 times over trying to fight that boss. Could never beat him.
I've said this a couple times during the podcast, but Kingdom Hearts 1 actually had a decent story in it, and the emotions were pretty real in it. But I thought the combat was a little lackluster in number 1. I think it was so simple. Like, the Sephiroth battle was good. The combat wasn't bad, it just didn't have a lot going on for it. So beating Sephiroth was just barrel roll, barrel roll, barrel roll, attack, attack, barrel roll, barrel roll, barrel roll. Like, it was the same thing over and over. Kingdom Hearts 2, though...
So it sounds like it was Dark Souls, then.
Yeah, right.
Kingdom Hearts... Flack for that one.
Well, I've gotten honorable mentions here of games I haven't played but should probably be on this list, and Dark Souls and From Software is the first one, but yeah.
I don't know. I think the fighting style is not that. It's literally what you just said. Barrel, 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 swing, and stick to the legs.
Well, the reason that Kingdom Hearts 2 is on this list is because it takes that idea of just button jamming, but it makes it so cinematic. I mean, if you just have the basic... Like, Keyblade, if you start hitting something, it's fine. But then you can get, like, drive forms, which means instead of one Keyblade, now you got 2. And then you can get a third, a fourth, and a fifth drive form. Whereas at one point, there's just, like, you're not even holding the Keyblades. They're just rotating around you as fast as they can. There's things exploding around you, and you're just doing tons of fucking damage. And your character is basically, like, you know, like, God form. And it's just a mountain of hurt that's coming your way.
It sounds like Kingdom Hearts is that basic saying that they have for most games, is it's easy to play but hard to master.
I don't know about that.
Is it challenging to do that kind of combo sets or no?
No. Basically, it's just fun because you just feel like a god in that game. It gets to the point where it really ramps up, where you want to get that combo and you want to get to Valor Form 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever. It had... Not that I used summons too much, but there was like a bunch of other small things that you could do during combat that made it a bit more interesting. And Kingdom Hearts 3 seems like it's following in that path, and that's the one and only good thing that it's got going for it. But clearly, it's my number 2 on Melee games, so it carries a lot of weight. Their combat, I've always loved their combat. So Kingdom Hearts 2 definitively sits as my number 2 for Melee games, but... As I mentioned, the more I'm thinking about Sleeping Dogs, the more I'm thinking maybe it should be a tie or something. But, so Kingdom Hearts 2 is my number 2. Mike?
Yeah, don't feel bad about switching stuff, because I feel like that I should honestly move, like, Scargirls to 5, and then Chivalry Medieval Warfare to 4. But, that just, like, I'm feeling like the same with you, too, after, like, talking about them. But, my number 1, though, is, I think it's everyone's number 1. If it's not, you're fucking crazy. And that's Super Smash Brothers. That game... is the best Melee game out there. It is stupid fun. And that's what that game is. And, like, you can have your series. Like, mine is Super Smash Brothers Nintendo 64. But I played the other ones through friends and stuff, and they're all the exact same thing. Okay, I wasn't a fan of the GameCube one, because I hate the fucking GameCube controller. That's the worst damn controller I've ever held in my hand. And I played off the Nintendo 64 controller. Hate the GameCube controller. But Super Smash Brothers... is one of those games that if you just want a fun Melee game, you put that game in. By yourself, with friends, it is just straight up fun. I'm the type of person who plays it, by the way, who turns off items. I don't like playing with the items even. Just playing with just the no items, just full out brawl, is my favorite thing to play with Super Smash games. And that's pure Melee. It's in one of the titles of the game. And it's just fun. It's just straight up honest fun. If you just want to have a good time, have a good laugh, you just put that game in. It was one of those games that if you didn't have nothing else to do, you just started that game up. It was the game that you just played. If you had people over and you had nothing to do, what are we going to do? put some Smash Brothers in there every time. Every time. It's so good. It's so fun. And they've just made it better. They just keep on making it more tighter and just better controls. And yeah, sure, there's some characters that are cheap and there's some that do this or some, but it doesn't matter. You're just playing it for fun. And it's one of those games that you just play for fun. And it just fucking fantastic. of course you get heated over it and all that stuff, but that's part of the fun too. There's not, if you're a person who's played video games, you played Super Smash Brothers, and everyone who's played it has to agree that it's just the number one. It's just fucking a well-rounded game, and it has all the Nintendo characters in it too, which makes it even more fun. It's a fucking blast. So much fun.
Disagree, Mike.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
I disagree.
It's such a good game. I'm surprised it even show up on your list. Not even like on the 5, 4, 3. Jeez.
The only game of Super Smash that has good impact is the first one. When you hit someone in the first one, it really feels like bam. But the other ones, they kind of feel...
Yeah, buddy.
They kind of feel like sock puppets in the other ones a little bit. Like, you can throw someone off a screen, but I don't think that the impact feels really heavy unless you've got, like,
I've noticed
a fully charged DK or something.
Yeah. Yeah, you do go flying a lot more in the first one than the other ones. There's, like, easier ways to come back, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Nothing compares to the first one. And I'll stick saying that the Nintendo 64 is the best one still. That one's just right amount of characters. The levels were fucking fantastic. And so good. Fucking great. Samus all the way.
Yeah.
That was my jam. That was my character, was Samus.
I don't know which one is my favorite, but number one definitely has the most impact.
Yeah.
All right. You want to hear my number one, Mike?
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear your one. I really thought it was going to be Super Smash Bros. too. What's your number one?
Well, I think you're going to enjoy this because it like as I was talking about with Kingdom Hearts 3, it's a coincidence that this one shows up because my number one is God of War, the game that you said that you just started.
Yep, and I was going to think about, as we were talking, I was like, and you were talking about impact, and I was just thinking, right when you said about feeling like the impact, I was thinking about in God of War, the charged up heavy move that you can unlock and just dig it into an enemy. I was like, that's some heavy impact right there.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's like when you like when you're talking about Diablo 3, all I was thinking was like, yep, God of War.
That game knows how to do impact. The first scene with is it Baldur? I can't remember, but I think
it's Baldur.
You're taking him, you're like throwing his head into a mountain, the mountain's cracking, he takes you and he just like starts punching you over and over into the ground and you're getting like 6 feet into the ground. Like fucking impact, man. That's just the cutscenes, but yeah, Mike, you were saying the charge up where you dig your axe into someone, you let him out. There's so many moves that you haven't even gotten to yet that are just intense, but it's
also great to chuck an axe at someone that freezes them and you just go fist at the other enemy. And then it's like the other guy's still frozen, and after you kill the other guy, you just whip the axe out and just fucking chop it into him again.
Yeah. And
so good.
I mean, anyone that's played God of War has already said this about the game, but even the smallest details, like recalling the axe, are the most fun. I mean, just
whips right back in your hand.
You throw your axe, you run as far away as you can, and then you hold out your hand for a second, like fucking Thor, and it's just shoo, 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 and it just comes back to you.
It's always great too because I forget I don't have an axe on me. I'm like, oh right, it just like it just comes right back. It's so cool. Mm-hmm. I always leave my axe behind somehow and just forget I don't have it on me. It's like, why am I just welling this guy with my fist? I'm like, I'm not complaining, but where's my axe? I'm like, all right, and then just instantly call in my hand and start wailing on him with the axe. It's so good.
Yeah. And I played that game on the 3rd hardest difficulty, and it was the perfect amount that I needed. I mean, this is why I didn't like it initially, is because the learning curve was insane, but by the end of the game, like, it was well worth it. And, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the difficulty and the impact of the hits and the versatility that the melee has. And this is the full package. I don't want to oversell the game because I feel like I'm just getting it, that I'm hyping it too much for you to not enjoy it, but there's no denying that it was written number one, God of War, on my list before you even mentioned you were playing it today.
I do agree, is that the beginning part is a stretch, and it's repetitive in the beginning, but once again, that's just the beginning. Apparently, you had the same experience as I did, so knowing that you agreed with me makes me have higher hopes for the game, even more so, and all that. And I'm really excited, not only to see, like, you know, I'm just really excited to kill some gods and see more of the storyline, and because like the cutscenes are beautiful when they are. Honestly, you can't tell the difference between the cutscenes and the actual fucking game, anyways. It's the exact same graphics. Everything's seamless.
It's seamless. That's the best way to put it. There's no like transition between quality. It just like the camera moves in and a cutscene occurs.
Yeah, the combat is it's solid. There's some things I wish you were better telling what you can do. I'm like, is there anything you can do with the trolls but just hack at them at the legs and throw your axe at them? Was there like something I can do extra with those giant trolls in the beginning of the tutorial, or no?
I don't know about that, because in the beginning you're pretty limited, but like the trolls are one of the 1 or 2 enemies that makes a reoccurrence, and like as you get more abilities, there's more ways to defeat them. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Because at the beginning when you first, that's all I need to hear. Then I get so you understand what I was talking about. Because when you first face them, it's kind of repetitive on how you deal with them. But it's cool that you can unlock more stuff to help deal with them, which is awesome.
Yeah, but God of War, hands down, it's easily my favorite Melee game. Honorable mentions. Well, actually, I'll repeat mine really quickly. Number 5. Diablo 3. If you're playing as like the paladin or the barbarian, I mean, just you can feel like every hit, and you can like they made a really good job with making it seem like he was putting all of his weight into the throw. They do a really good job with just making that feel good. Number 4, Batman Arkham series. The dodge hit is kind of repetitive, but it is so fluid that it's hardly even a problem because it feels so cool. I mean, back in the day, that game was like groundbreaking in terms of how fluid everything felt. Number 3, Sleeping Dogs is just it's funny. I mean,
it's just funny.
It's funny, but it's also just so. I mean, you watch it, you're like, oh my god, I just broke that woman's nose on the trunk of my car and threw her in, and you're driving around, she's screaming her lungs out, you're like smashing into other cars. I mean, it's so good. The game is hilarious. I keep telling myself every year I want to replay Sleeping Dogs, and I always disappoint myself. But
well, it's me with BioShock.
Maybe 2020 is the year. Kingdom Hearts 2, it's simple, but they do a really good job in making it worthwhile, and I'm kind of re-experiencing that with Kingdom Hearts 3 right now. So it reaffirms. When I first wrote it down, I was like, really? But as I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3 yesterday, it definitely holds value to me still. And then number 1, hands down, God of War. I mean, it's just play the game if you haven't at this point.
Yeah, definitely worth it. I got mine at a retail still for just $20. Seriously, just straight up $20 now.
Yeah. So what's your 5 through 1 again?
5 through 1. I'm switching my 5 and my 4. My number 5 is Skullgirls. It's a solid fighter game. I don't like fighting games at all. It's one of my least things I like usually getting. I still enjoy them, but it's not on my top of my list. When I played this game, I seriously dove into it and learned all the characters, had fun with it, enjoyed it. And if you like fighting games and you're wanting a new game, because I know how these games can get repetitive really fast, definitely pick up Skullgirls. It's definitely worth your money. Number 4 is Chivalry Medieval Warfare. If you want to feel like back in the olden days and medieval times, you want to feel how it was in the battle days, definitely pick up this game. Shit ton of fun, especially when you break onto fisticuffs in a giant fight. Hilarious. Stupid fun. Number 3, For Honor. If you want to feel like a beast of a man in a fight that looks fucking fantastic with some really fun game modes, this is a game for you. You are just a beastly person fighting other beastly people, and the clashes when you fight is fucking fantastic. Really good. There are some things that can be cheesed, but usually it doesn't happen, and honestly, the game is so much fun that it doesn't really matter, especially since the matches don't last forever. They're pretty quick, unless you do the siege mode. I say do the siege mode is when you get really good at the game, when you're actually proficient at it, then jump into siege mode. Besides that, the other game modes are just as fun and pretty well balanced too, on how to make them unique. Number 2, Soul Calibur. It is one of the most well-rounded, fantastically made fighter game I've ever played in my entire life. Soul Calibur has nailed how to do a fighting game to the teeth. Everything that you get mistakes on, you feel it's your fault. The characters in the game are fucking fantastic. And if you even don't like the character customization is out of this world fun to do. It's so much fun. It's great. If you're on Reddit, you've seen them all, especially the new one, is just great. Even the characters in the game are out of this world and just crazy. But my number one has to be Super Smash Brothers, especially Nintendo 64 version. That's a straight up fun melee game. It's the one game I know I'm always going to have fun playing, especially with no items. If you play with items, you're a little bitch and you know it. It is a great game. It's just straight up fun. It's not perfect. No game ever is, except for maybe Soul Calibur for fighting, but it is not as much fun as Super Smash Brothers. And Samus all the way.
Honorable mentions. Any game from Software is good for Melee. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, those games all...
Oh, yeah, they're great at making games where you just dodge, roll, and swing. That's a great mechanic. That's so much fun. It's great.
All right.
It's fun. Yeah.
Little controversy there.
Yeah.
Number 7, Devil May Cry. Or sorry, not number 7, but honorable mention number 2.
Devil May Cry.
Devil May
Cry. I mean, that is guns out. I mean, that's sad. But the melee is good though. It's solid.
The guns are used like melee though. I mean, you can stand.
It is very true.
You can stand on the opposite side of the map and shoot something, but the
guns
used
are secondary.
They're used as a combo maker.
Yeah, the guns are secondary. And the melee is the main weapon.
Yeah, these are all games that I haven't touched that much. I played a little bit of the DMC remake, but the last game...
Devil May Cry 1, that game is a special place in my heart still, and I forget about it, and it's always nice to be reminded about that game. It really does.
The last game I was going to mention is Metal Gear Solid Revengeance, where you play as Raiden with that sword. You can, organize where to... Or you can, tell him where to chop things, and just... Whoosh, sword slashes it in half.
Never played it.
Yeah, so I never played any of those games, but they all seemed like they had really memorable melee. So
Devil May Cry 1, definitely a solid melee game with a little bit of range. Such a good game. It is one of those games that's a hack and slash, but they nail it right. Where you get score points for how good you did it. It's great.
So, I don't know if this game's coming out anytime soon, but there's a game that I keep talking about every few months called Fight Night, and it's fight and then night is spelled like Knight, like Shovel Knight and Hollow Knight. It's Fight Night, and that game looks like a great melee game as well. I played it at a games convention for a couple minutes, and it was awesome. Look into that if since we're on melee games. I think once that game comes out, it's probably going to be on one of my favorite melee games in the future because it just looks so unique. But other than that, another headline, Mike. I don't know if you heard this because it was just announced today, but Valve announced a new Half-Life game for VR.
I don't care. Half-Life's came and gone. It's one of those things. It's like, dude, let it go. It's done. I mean, someone tried to make. They said this one game came out as a official Half-Life game, and that one turned to be absolute garbage. It's one of those stories that they're not. I don't care about the world. I just cared about the storyline. It's the main storyline. It's that's what I cared about. It's cool to hear that. I don't really think it's even cool to hear that, to be honest, in my opinion.
All right, well, either way, I'm excited for it, and it's supposed to be a flagship title, so it's going to be a full-fledged VR game.
Dude, what I'm excited about is that fucking Halo Collector's Edition is coming to the PC, and then it's coming to the Xbox Pass too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Reach is coming out next month in December. I'm going to be there playing that game on PC, replaying that whole campaign mode on hardest difficulty. I already killed some fucking Covenant again.
Yeah,
I'm pumped for that shit.
There's a couple things coming out, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Especially Final Fantasy as well. All of them. I was like, damn. Xbox Pass, you're doing some work now.
Yeah.
I don't know whose dick you're sucking, but you're sucking the right dick.
Square Enix's from the sounds of it.
Yeah. It's like, fuck. They're just being real nice with this whole Xbox Pass thing. All the games they're dishing out, I'm really fucking excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things yeah, I'll continue your little service. You're making me play all these games for fucking nothing now. I'm playing like 6 games off of $1. It's great.
It's good stuff.
It's
all
really
right.
good.
Mike, you and I didn't talk about what we're going to do for next week's top 5, but while
we can just leave that surprise.
Well, while we were talking about the Outer Worlds, I was thinking it might be fun to do top 5 dialogue in games.
Yeah, I don't know.
No? We can come up with something later.
Yeah, I don't know, because the only dialogue games I really played, I was really Fallout. I think it's like the only one I ever played for dialogue.
Alright.
And I really want to do it because then I'll have to play Outer World, and I don't really want to play Outer World anymore.
To be determined.
Yeah, it'll be a surprise.
Games I'm playing this week, Kingdom Hearts 3 and Luigi's Mansion 3. Mike, you got anything else?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing God of War, and then I'm going to be playing another indie game because I'm done with the Outer World. It's going to be, the next one's going to be playing that one to play is The Flame and the Flood. I don't know if you played it before. It's one of those games I've always wanted to go, but just never really had interest in buying it, but it's on Xbox Pass, so I already have it downloaded on my PC too. So when Lauren doesn't want me watching, my fiance doesn't want me playing God of War, I'll be playing that game then.
Yeah, I played it. Let me know what you think about it, though. I don't want to say.
No, I remember what you told me for. You were like a little bit on the fence, a little bit on the negative side. When last time you told me about it, at least that's what I remembered. But I'm pretty excited because it looked pretty cool, and once again, it's Xbox Pass, so I was like, "Fuck it, it's there. Why not?" Which makes why I really like this service.
Well, all right, that's it for me.
That's it for me too. I feel like we got a lot, and I thought we did a great job in catching up too. I've also been watching a whole bunch of movies too as well, like all the ones I just told you about. So they're gonna be old ones that people have watched, so there won't be much to say about them. But still, I'm pretty excited to watch all those movies again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Peace.